Hello, everybody. All right. Okay, Frankfurt School. So, so there we go. Okay, this is basically we studied Guido board. That's like Marxism 3.0 or a variant of Marxism around the 1960s. This is Marxism 2.0. This is a school of people, scholars, meeting together like in the early 1900s. They realize, Marxist predictions for like a revolution were kind of failed, and a lot of countries that had revolutions turned into fascist countries. So they want to understand why people are fascist, right? And a good way to think about that, that's simple in fascism, uh, corporations are really close to the government and military, right? This is sort of like the power elite that Mills talks about. But there's other tendencies. There's like intense nationalism, intense military, like emphasis on military, emphasis on violence, having like an enemy out of the population, like as a scapegoat, like as a constant like threat, right? So this group of scholars met and had, from different backgrounds. This school produced so much writing, and some of the writers were very technical and like philosophical works that are hard to understand. So that's been a criticism, is they produced a body of knowledge but no like coherent paradigm to pass on. You kind of have to like study it and untangle for yourself. But they use Marx, Max Weber, particularly rationalization, and ideas from Freud. So we'll go over some of those ideas again. So early 1900s, Germany influenced sociology, Marxism, it influenced psychology, influenced literature, like it was a whole movement. Um, Critical theory it's called the Frankfurt School. It's Frankfurt School of Critical Theory. So we see critical theory, it's influenced like critical legal studies. It's influenced like critical race theory. There's all kinds of critical theory. And let's see, Horkheimer, Habermas, Arduino, Marcuse. These were all like leading figures. We're gonna go over Marcuse's One-Dimensional Man. I'm gonna have that as the reading. So go through that. They rejected ideas by Marx. Um, they add in, like we said, Max Weber's idea of rationalizing. So remember the formula for rationalization, or remember the formula for iron cage, right? Iron cage equals rationalization plus disenchantment, right? And the easy way to remember that is rationalization, science and technology increase, and disenchantment, um, magic decrease, right? So this is a very simple idea of rationalization, that little formula. But Max Weber's idea of the rational forces are more complex, right? So let's see. So there's four types of rationalization. And in here, let me just see if we can bigify this. Okay. Uh, so Weber's conviction that rationalization occurs in diverse spheres of life compelled him to examine the degree to which a single realm could be designated as the carrier, behind which all other rationalization processes fell in line to a greater or lesser degree. In posing this question, he wished to primarily scrutinize the Marxian emphasis on economic sphere as the substructure for all others. In this regard, Weber found the Marxian stress wanting. For him, rationalization processes can take place in each arena independently from the others and at their own rates. So for Weber, that rationalizing forces alienate people and control people. Mills talks about this too. Rationalizing forces make people cheerful robots, right? And Marx says it's the economic relationships that cause domination, right? And this is Weber's criticizing this, saying it's the sphere of everything. According to Weber, is saying it's too simplistic. These rationalizing forces are coming from different directions and different degrees. So we'll just go over a little bit. This is like way more in depth than we need to know, but just to give you guys a little bit of background. Let's see. Wherever the bonds, practical rationalization. Wherever the bonds of primitive magic have been severed, practical rational patterns of action appear. So to replace religion, a more practical philosophy. So beyond whether religious or secular utopian, but also the abstract theoretical rationality of an intellectual strata. So basically something that replaces a religion, it could be like a materialistic or atheism, right? It's rational, we're animals, right? But it's based in sort of like science and biology. So another belief system to replace religion. He's talking about in this, the practical rationality. Theoretical, systemic thinkers, holistic explanations, right? Theoretical thought stands in the relationship of antagonism to the fragmented character of magic. So we have like scientists, law, philosophy, sociology theories, right? Another type of thought system, another type of rationality. Substantive, valid canon, reality's unflow of unending empirical events. Measure, no absolute array of rational values exist as a set of standards. Similarly, irrational is not fixed. I have no idea what this one means. This type of rationality exists as a manifestation of man's inherent capacity for value rational action. So maybe this relates to more of there's a theory, what is it? Stark and Bainbridge in religious studies, they're sociologists too. People choose to believe in a religion, some because they don't know if it's true or not. And they think, if I go to church on Sunday and I end up dying and there is an afterlife, it's like a rational choice. I'll just go a little bit of time just in case it's true. I think that would be an example of this substantive rationalization. And formal, economic, legal, scientific spheres, bureaucratic forms of domination. Okay, so I just want to show you some examples of Weber's rationalization. It gets way more complex than we're going to get, but it's different forces from different directions, right? And this is what some of the Frankfurt thinkers try to integrate into their philosophy. We also had certain ideas from Freud. This basic idea, id, ego, superego, right? You guys have heard the words, someone's egotistical, selfish, right? Inside of us, Freud says there's, these different three competing, forces. The animal is like the id, the ego is like your concept of self, and then the ego reaches towards or wants to be like a superego, like archetypes or different ideals of religions, right? So there's this tension between the id and ego that creates neurosis, suffering, right? Stress that Freud talks about. But just these ideas and words and concepts by Freud are kind of added in to the work of many of the Frankfurt School thinkers. Okay, so we have these types of rationality again. We'll go back to that. Right. Frankfurt School thinkers led by pessimism from a retreat from Marxian cultural theory and then towards a neo-Hegelian critique of ideology. So we're adding more Hegel back in. Remember, Hegel popularizes this idea of the dialectic, right? Two opposite forces, right? thesis, antithesis, looking at those together to come to a new realization, synthesis. And so this process is used by Hegel and Marx and the Frankfurt School thinkers, but they want to inject a little bit more Hegel in there. And Hegel was more concerned about like human being separation from God, and his way of using the dialectic method was different than Marx. Marx used it for more how history evolves and like these power structures inside of each age of history. But anyway, they're going back to Hegel. Marx strayed away from him. The Frankfurt School is coming back. Overwhelmingly concerned with the irrationality of social and cultural values, including positivism and scientism. Marcuse's version of critical theory stems from the philosophical speculation and not empirical speculation, influenced by the traditions of American thought. So Marcuse's one-dimensional man is a critique of advanced capitalism. Frankfurt School differs from 1960s critical theory in that it approaches Marx from a philosophical view. Possibly because of the work of younger theorists desiring to place their work in a spot between philosophy and sociology. Main failure of the Frankfurt School is a lack in a creation of a coherent paradigm of Marxist social theory. So it's just an exploration of a lot of different thinkers, scholars using these ideas and making new creations, right? Right, remember disenchantment, rationalization, equal iron cage. Oops. So Weber does not employ the concepts of irrationality and rationalization in a global manner to refer merely to a general unfolding of civilizations. Instead, qualitatively different rationalization processes that potentially advance at their own indigenous rates take place at various sociocultural levels. Kind of what we went over. It's a more complicated topic, and this process is like multifaceted. So we had that quote. So again, those four types: practical, theoretical, substantive, formal. You don't need to know this. And then we want to know id, ego, superego. These are just some basic ideas from the psychologist Freud, psychoanalyst Freud. So what does it say in One-Dimensional Man? These are all notes from my friend, and I use this as a reading group text. So we're kind of like making comments and like arguing in the background. Okay, so this is from One-Dimensional Man Introduction. So here we go. One, the title, Paralysis of Criticism, Society Without Opposition. Number one, the public does not perceive that the effects for nuclear supremacy defense itself is a force that deforms and dominates society. This is a hidden part of industrial society. Industrial society grows with the threat of war. Its justification is reason certain individuals benefit, right? Public does not perceive the efforts for nuclear supremacy, right? As long as we have advanced science and technology, there are ways and directions people with power use that knowledge, right? And it can be used, for nuclear purposes. It can be used for exploration, but never forget that those in the industrial society, using that technology tends to gather or go in the direction of like war and weapons. Industrial society grows with the threat of war. Technology promises efficiency and greater creature comforts, but is the most advanced form of repression for the public. This whole process is actually irrational. Technology, think about this. Technology promises efficiency and greater creature comforts, but it's the most advanced form of repression. How is this true with social media, right? It's free. You can post things and share with people, connect with people, build a brand. But what you're doing is giving companies access to your data in real time by your behavior of everything, what listening music you listen to, uh, links you click in feeds, your friends, the things that you post, um, all of this. And it seems like, oh, it's cool, it's fun to have social media. And in the background, there's just all this data being tracked. The aim of critical theory is to understand these abusive tactics previously mentioned. A critical theory of society faces two possible biases. Human life is valuable. Social theory can improve human life. You guys can see this. Control plus. Critical theory uses abstraction to understand the truth about society's organization, utilization of resources, and history. These must be translated into definable goals. Technological progress is the mantra of industrial society, and yet it's simultaneously this mantra that is the main denominator. However, social change is possible within contemporary society. So these are my sort of summaries of the paragraphs listed in the book. What it's saying here is, we're doing everything for the progress of science, benefit of technology. Nobody's really going to question you. Let's get computers for kids. Let's have more access to faster internet. Everybody should have smart cars. Like, most people are going to say, yeah, totally. It makes my life easier. This is like the future, right? And they don't know that in reality, behind things, that they are being controlled, and just the data privacy issues alone, right? Capitalism has altered the relationship of the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. Technological progress alters the distinction of these groups. Classical Marxism must be reformed. People must be willing to distinguish from true and false consciousness, really realizing that the conquest of nature technological process is actually the conquest of man to dominate other men. The one-dimensional man will undulate between two contradicting hypotheses. You see a dialectical technique here. One, industrial society has the potential to create positive change for the future. Two, modern industrial society may destroy society. Scientific advancement, scientific destruction. Yin-yang symbol there for you. Okay. So this is just a little taste of the preface in that book. I'm going to post some pages, so read them, and I will start another discussion and watch this lecture, and I will talk to you guys in the discussion comments. I'll probably post another video this week. Catch up with your work if you're behind. Near the final, I'm going to open everything up again so you can finish a few assignments, but just don't leave everything till the end because you won't be able to finish it. Okay. Have a good night.